Welcome, everyone, to Growth Sessions, where we chat with industry leaders in retail media and e-commerce advertising. I'm here today joined by John Shea, founder of Momentum Commerce. John, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Adam. Pleasure to be here with you and really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And Momentum Commerce is a relatively new agency. Do you want to give a brief introduction on what Momentum Commerce is?
I'd love the opportunity. Thanks. Yeah. So Momentum Commerce is a group of 16 of us now. We just formed the business and launched it publicly in April of this year. So it's a newly formed company, but all of us are veterans of performance marketing, retail, e-commerce, and data science. The core thesis for the business is that amazing technology and brilliant people working together can unlock outsized value for clients. We specifically focus on providing data services, strategy consulting, and tactical execution for mid-cap to large brands who want to win at digital retail. So we think of digital retail as Amazon.com, Walmart.com, Target.com, and also emerging platforms like Instacart that enable different shopping experiences.
And you've been off to a great start. And while Momentum Commerce is a relatively new agency, your journey into this space has been many, many years in the making. Do you mind just giving everyone a little bit of a background of how you've grown into this space and all of your war stories and what you've seen thus far?
Yeah, I don't know how much time we have, Adam, but I'll give the quick cliff notes, and it's fun. I think Momentum Commerce is a collection of some of my favorite colleagues and friends that I've met through this industry over the last 15 years. But I started in this business 16 years ago working at Google, where I led some business development efforts with advertising agencies who are plugging into Google's APIs to try to buy search ads in more effective ways, primarily leveraging math to make better marketing decisions. And I did that for about 6 years. I fell in love with technology. I fell in love with direct marketing. And most of those agencies were quite sophisticated. And so the clients that gravitated to working with them were retailers and e-commerce companies. And so a lot of my focus was on that form of advertising. And then after working at Google for a long time, I went to a company called Criteo, which many of your listeners may know. It's a public company, was initially very well known as a leader in dynamic product retargeting, specifically for retailers. So the shopping ads that follow you around the internet, reminding you of what was in your shopping cart. And at Criteo, I built out a large commercial organization, so scaled a 100-person team to bring Criteo's retargeting technology to the middle market in the Americas. I loved that experience, kind of was on the front line of programmatic display advertising for performance goals. That solution worked over Facebook as well, so sort of saw the evolution of social marketing, where Facebook had an exchange where you could run a lot of math against it, and then closed its ecosystem and changed it. And so it was fun to sort of be on the front line of search at Google and the front line of display and programmatic at Criteo. About 3 years ago, I left Criteo to join a company called Take Metrics, which is focused on the marketplace space, where I was the CRO and helped build out some sales services and marketing teams. Really fell in love with the Amazon ecosystem and the opportunity that exists in retail media, and have continued that focus in founding and building Momentum Commerce more recently.
Awesome. Great. It's a great journey. And one of the things that I think everyone knows is when Amazon ads first started, they looked a lot like Google ads. They were paid search ads, bottom of funnel, highly intent based. And obviously both Google ads when they initially started and Amazon ads have grown a significant amount. And I think you have a unique perspective on seeing the maturation of how Google ads have grown and how Amazon ads have grown. And while there are some similarities, as there are some differences, and how have you found Amazon following Google's playbook in that respect?
Yeah, it's a fun question and topic, and there's so many moments I've had over the past few years where I just say to myself, "Man, I've seen this play before. I've watched this all happen." I can remember working at Google. This probably would have been 10 or 12 years ago. And Google had initially got all of the retailers in the world to give them programmatically their product catalogs and feeds with a product called Frugal. It's a directory of basically all products in the world, and it was a free shopping portal. So if you were a retailer 12 years ago and operating a .com website, 15 to 20% of all of your sales came from free, organic search clicks within Frugal's database. And I remember being at Google and having to go tell customers that was migrating to what is now Google Shopping, which is 100% pay to play environment, where the only way to meet that consumer and pull them into your website would be to pay a cost per click to Google. That was a major shift. And you've seen something similar start to take shape on Amazon, where increasingly the search results on Amazon's platform are sponsored instead of organic, and that changes the way brands participate. I always remind our brand clients that even though that is a tax and that's expensive and that cost is increasing every year, it's also giving brands the ability to control the shopping experience and assert their strategy in a way that's much more controlled than just allowing those portals free rein to prioritize products as they see fit. So there's often an opportunity if you can organize around it effectively. But yeah, it's sort of fun. Like a lot of to do Amazon marketing at the highest level requires a lot of the same things that the OG search geeks like me figured out 10, 12 years ago. It's not a game of budget optimization. It's a game of profit maximization. So you need to set efficiency targets and then fund the advertising indefinitely against goals. That's something Perpetua believes a lot into in building software. It's not a reality that all brands get to live, but philosophically, that's the way to do it. There's a huge difference between branded search traffic and non-branded search traffic and how you pursue that. You want to do smart things like incorporate your stock levels and your margins into how you bid for and buy ads. You want to think about seasonality effectively and bid in and out of seasonality. You want to use technology to make these decisions. To apply mathematical decisions to how you buy ads is a game much better played by computers than by humans, but you need really smart humans who know how those systems work and can control them to get the best outcome. All of those things are classic lessons learned in search and programmatic advertising that are true in marketplaces, but there are differences too. The biggest one is that advertising in an environment like Amazon's marketplace has a causal effect on your organic visibility within the platform as well. And that requires some tricky, funky math that you can't always get a great read on, but it sometimes makes a lot of sense to lose money on advertising on Amazon early in a product's life cycle in order to gain organic visibility and reap profits later. So you've got a slightly different time horizon on marketing investment. And that time warp is something a lot of brands struggle with and is very unique to Amazon. It's also just like the Amazon marketplace is so brutally competitive and dynamic. It changes constantly. So you have these crazy swings in who you're actually selling against on that platform. And unlike a Google or a Facebook, both provide amazing audience planning tools to marketers. That data just isn't really available on Amazon. So marketers need to go gather their own insights and find competitive advantage by understanding what's actually happening on the retailer sites. So I love this ecosystem. It's early, which means there's a great opportunity to get competitive advantage if you're a brand. It's a great opportunity to produce value if you're a technology player like Perpetua or a consultancy like Momentum Commerce. And it's a lot of fun. It's changing every day.
I'm having fun. It sounds like you're having fun.
I love it. I love it. And I love meeting great people in this industry like yourself, Adam. So that's probably my favorite part of it.
Appreciate that. What are some of those insights that someone can extract outside of the Amazon platform, as an example, that's not readily available via the API that a brand needs to know to complement their advertising strategy?
Yes. So I'll answer your question. I may shamelessly plug some stuff we're working on at Momentum Commerce too.
Please do.
But so there's this concept that's existed in consumer goods forever, which is called walking the store, where if you were a brand marketer at a CPG company, you'd go into the retailer storefronts and actually look at where your product is presented, what's next to it, how it looks, how it's priced relative to the competition, and all of those kinds of things. If you really want to win in a dynamic marketplace online, you've got to basically do the same thing, but on steroids, leveraging the power of technology and scale and speed. And so you need to understand everything that surrounds your products digitally. This is often called digital shelf analytics, for example. And we find that there's so much information you can extract by looking in real time at what's happening on the retailers that can drive better marketing decisions, better product innovation decisions, better pricing decisions, that information is critical. And so we've decided, we at Momentum Commerce, unlike a lot of consultancies, we invested really aggressively in data science and engineering. So we've got an incredible team focused on that. Jay, our CTO, is a good friend of mine. He built the data science organization at Criteo years ago. He's really, really strong technology leader. And we decided to invest there in building insights and creating actionable insights, which is kind of the piece that we thought was missing from this whole ecosystem. There's lots of great tools to help optimize tactics. There are some tools to distill general market share insights, but to get to real actionable value, you need flexible data that can be joined up against your own sales data and first party data. So we built our own insights database and created a few tools that are kind of interesting. One of them is publicly available on our website. It's called the Momentum Commerce Amazon Brand Index. It can be accessed at momentumcommerce.com, and then just click on the global nav and go to Amazon Brand Index. But what we do there is we track 3,500 different subcategories of retail on Amazon in real time, updated weekly. And for every subcategory, we reveal the keywords that are driving purchase demand, and then we plot the brands that are performing best against those search terms. And we run it as a plot looking at share of paid search and share of organic search. And you can see the leaders in any of these categories are participating aggressively in sponsored search, as well as earning strong organic placement. The challenger brands may not yet have organic placement, but they're coming in hot and heavy using tools like Perpetua and crushing it from an advertising standpoint. And then you see some incumbent brands that may be winning on brand equity or price, but aren't really controlling the channel and participating. And those we call incumbents. And then you have laggards that aren't quite there yet. So we track that and report that out. And that's helpful to get a competitive view. And then we have some proprietary tools to support our customers that help understand categories they can expand into and build new products for that are going to have less competition and high overlap with their customer file. And we have tools that'll look at other competitive benchmarking components. So those are some of the things that we're doing from an insights planning standpoint, and are excited to continue to create tools in that vein.
That brand index tool sounds like brand analytics plus share of voice data on steroids and plotted in some nice visualizations. I kind of get it, right?
You got the spirit of it, man.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's the idea. We've gotten awesome feedback from it. We've got a few academic institutions wanting to do partnerships to study. Where it gets real interesting is looking at all of that digital shelf data and then thinking about where there are causal relationships between changes and then downstream sales and market share. And so we want to do some work in that area, which is exciting. But the goal is to provide clients a better understanding of where they sit relative to the competition and the size of opportunity. One of the things, thinking about like the Google Amazon differences, like one of the wildest things about Amazon was you couldn't really look at the investment curve like that. Like if you're making a marketing decision, you always want to think about the trade-off between efficiency and scale and be strategic about that. But it was only a couple of months ago that Amazon began to reveal impression share data to give you a sense of how much of the market you're missing. And that data still was a little wonky and not great. And so there's a lot of ways where you've got to use techniques outside of Amazon's tools to understand how to get a competitive advantage. And we spend a lot of time doing that stuff.
And so what if you could mention a client, that would be amazing, but totally cool if you can't. What would be like a specific insight that you would understand through some of these tools that you would then take an action on, and what would be that specific action within it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to mention some clients. So we have a client and we work with you on it, Adam, which is a good one to mention because there's a few areas of value that we chase for this client. So there's a client called Lux Paper. It's an amazing brand. Their direct to consumer site is envelopes.com. The brand on Amazon is Lux Paper. Paper goods company, probably 15, 16,000 different products. You want an envelope in any color, in any size, in any quantity, they've got you covered. Amazing selection, but a really complicated catalog, long tail kind of brand. That's where marketing on Amazon gets incredibly challenging. There's so much complexity in the data. There's a lot of sparsity in the data. And that's where a company like Momentum Commerce, we excel. We invest in hardcore data geeks and analysts, and that's the type of client we love to work on. For them, we're trying to help them with a few things. Like part of it is working together to understand their economics. So as a brand, they can sell on Amazon using FBA. They can fulfill directly themselves. When they fill directly themselves, they could try to be Prime eligible or not. And those all come with different profitability implications. So working with them to understand their profitability across 16,000 SKUs and multiple different fulfillment methods, it's kind of critical to getting them to a place where they can begin to market more aggressively. So we've spent a lot of time doing that. Those aren't necessarily relying on insights tools, but we've also invested in a data layer where we can ingest all their data and run that math and help them from a financial standpoint. Then where you have insights that can be really valuable is trying to use Amazon data to advise on assortment strategy and product innovation. What are products that they don't sell that their competitors are selling and being successful on that they should go sell? Where are there areas where there's increasing demand in search and not necessarily good selection to match it? And how can they take data from Amazon and apply it to their product development roadmap? So we consult with them on that. And then once they create those products, we can then market and advertise them aggressively. That's where, and I see a lot of brands who are getting really smart and sophisticated about unlocking data from platforms like Amazon and using it to plug directly into product development. And I love, that's really fun strategic work for a company like us. And then when you plug in that far up the value chain, it's really satisfying to then be the firm that helps market those products and make sure that they're successful long-term as well.
Definitely. And that's also kind of solves the problem that many brands are asking themselves of what should be on DTC, what should be retail, and what should be on Amazon, where it's not a either or, it's how can they all play together nicely to lead to brand expansion.
Bingo. Wait, so Adam, let me ask you then. So I get this question all the time, particularly
Sure.
from brands that aren't natively born on an Amazon. It's like how much of their assortment should go on Amazon? Most of my friends like you that live within this ecosystem say you've got to put all of your product on Amazon 100% of the time. If it's not there, you're silly. How do you answer that question with clients?
To be honest, I think it depends on the category. So if there are certain categories that you live in, like emerging CPG, supplements, household goods, baby, pet, and some instances toy, you have to be on Amazon. Period, full stop. And you have to be on Amazon, a full suite of product collection on Amazon, trying to maximize as many sales as possible. If it's someone like another brand that we're quite familiar with, Crocs, that is relatively inventory constrained, that stock is meteorically rising, and people they literally can't keep shoes on the shelf. How can you use Amazon to use your brand as offense? How can you use Amazon to introduce new products to your brand? And how can you use Amazon to, in some instances, I hate this, like unload inventory that you're unable to sell on your DTC. That's where it gets a little bit more interesting and a little bit more strategic, which is, I think, why agencies like yourself need to exist, is when it's not table stakes for the category that you live in. There needs to be a very nuanced strategy on a brand by brand basis. And while we don't necessarily touch D2C, we don't touch omni-channel, or we touch other digital retailers, we get exposed to those discussions, but we're not necessarily leading them. And that's when we rely on agency partners like yourself to really guide brands in those sorts of discussions.
Dude, totally agree. I like that perspective a lot too, is it's not, most people who are deep in the Amazon ecosystem don't always see all the nuance there. I completely agree with you. And Crocs is an awesome example. Like, that brand is on fire, and they do so many cool fashion collaborations and things. And but the sort of short hit kind of product things that are really more exclusive, meant for PR, that doesn't play on Amazon well.
If only I could get the Diplo Crocs on Amazon.
Yeah.
Would love that. But that definitely helps for the brand. We'll be right back with this short message from our sponsor.
This is Adam Heist, and earlier this year, I sold one of my Amazon businesses to D1 Brands. Now, exiting can be an intense experience, but D1 makes it easy. They're operators first and know what we go through to build a business, and up to this point, they've got a 100% close rate. So if you're looking to sell, check out d1brands.io.
Welcome back. John, you worked at building go-to-market teams at some leading technology companies in the space, and then a light switch hit you last summer-ish, in which you decided, hey, I want to start an agency. What was it? Like, what did you see that you thought, how did you think that Momentum Commerce could succeed? What was the gap that you were filling in the market? And what ultimately led you to make this leap?
Yeah, so it wasn't like one afternoon I woke up and was like, we're gonna go do this. This is an itch I've always had. I've always wanted to scratch. I've always been afraid to do it. And I think there's a lot of people in the world like that have a dream, and they're just not quite brave enough or confident enough to go attack it. And I think that was me for a long time. I think I'd been lucky enough to work for great companies, work under great leaders, and learn a lot. And felt kind of like I was at the right point where I'd sort of been around the block and knew some things, thought I could create some value, and had more confidence in myself. So that was helpful. We had all been trapped in our houses for a year. So I was definitely just rethinking life and priorities. There's a personal component to all of it, and kind of made you realize that life is precious and short. And if there's things you want to do, you got to go chase them. And interestingly, had a lot of great friends who were super talented that I've met through this business and industry that were feeling the exact same way. So it's kind of a perfect time to get a crew together to go do something big and take a swing at life. So that was a big part of it. I think the other part of it was I'd spent my whole career working in e-commerce advertising, basically, and all of a sudden you just saw the biggest acceleration in this in this particular field happen within a span of 6 months, which is an amazing business opportunity to help support all these D2C brands that need to figure out marketplaces, help all these old school brick and mortar brands figure out digital. That opportunity just got bigger and bigger. And then the last piece was like kind of leaning into the future of the workplace and realizing that what it means to be a company is not having an office. It's so much different than that. And there's so many possibilities and opportunities to gather talent and bring people together. And I think we all learned a ton about that in the last year. So there's all these things coming together. And then I'd worked directly in this market, loved it, and just thought there was something missing, which is it's an early market. Like, Amazon's ecosystem is the most mature of the different retail media platforms, and it's still really early. And like, the right solution has to be flexible technology, an understanding of the different tools that are out there, paired with really smart people that are senior, that have been around the block, trying to create value for brands. And I thought there was an opportunity to do that. And our mission that we talk about internally as a company is just to be the most respected company in this field. We don't want to be the biggest. We just want to be respected. We want to lead with thought leadership. have a people first culture and do great work. And so far it's been a great journey. It's early, so we'll see how it goes, but that's the story.
And part of that respect has really been established with some of the content that you and your team have been writing. I've really enjoyed it. I've read almost every piece. There's some amazing cartoons and graphics to correspond with the pieces. But generally speaking, I would characterize it as long form thought leadership pieces that are not clickbaity SEO, come sign up with my agency. It's almost indifferent. Momentum Commerce isn't leading the charge. It's more so the topic that's leading the charge. Can you talk a bit about how you and your team thought about coming up with a content strategy to introduce the agency?
Yeah, and Adam, I super appreciate you saying that, and I love getting the occasional text from you when you read some of that. That feedback is so cool for us.
I've stolen some quotes as well. I want you to know that.
That's all right. I've stolen quotes from you for 3 years now, so we're that's a fair trade in my book, Adam. But yeah, so keep in mind, a lot of us at this company have been advising brands on marketing strategy for like 15 years. And this is kind of like our first time to fully control and own a brand. So we were pretty excited to be marketers for ourselves. And I think what we decided is that it was just going to be a thought leadership strategy. We wanted to put value out into the ecosystem. We do that through writing right now. And we do that in creating utilities like the one I mentioned earlier. And we're going to continue to sort of create free tools to share some of what we learn with the market. We also, I hired this guy. He's amazing. He's the cartoonist for the website adexchanger.com. His name's Nate Neal. He's the most talented artist I think I've ever worked with. He's amazing.
He's done an amazing job.
Yeah, he does these illustrations. And I sent him an idea. He doesn't work in this business. I sent him an idea kind of explaining some trend that's going on around Amazon or retail media. And he comes back with these amazing ideas for how to express it in these simple cartoons. And so I just respect that art form so much. I want to continue to lead into it. And it makes for fun sales and client presentations when you, instead of breaking up the monotony of your typical PowerPoint deck, it's have a fun cartoon. It's aligned to our brand, which was rooted in being kind and human and nice, but also knowing what we're talking about and being really good at what we do. So we're having fun with that. None of us are sort of professional marketers, so we're all kind of working on it together. But the thing that we feel strongly about is not using copywriters to write stuff for us. We like our team writes all the content themselves, and we're sort of building a culture where there's a sense of pride if you can write content that we post on our blog. And I think there's something fun about that for us just as a company.
What's been the proudest piece that you or someone in your team have written thus far?
I think for me, it's been fun to watch different skill sets within our company come to life there. So Patrick Callahan is our director of client development, works mostly in sales and business development. And this is a complicated industry. Like retail media is like, even you and I, Adam, we work in this stuff every single day and it's changing constantly. And the plumbing of this industry is just, it's hard to keep track of what retailers are using, what tech platforms to sell what ad types to what brands. And for me to see him, who's somebody I've worked with across 3 companies now, he's been the most impressive business development individual I've ever seen in any organization. Never knew he was a great writer. He wrote a summary of like what is going on in retail media. How are all these retailers trying to sell ads to brands using what technologies? And it was great to discover a new skill set that he had that I didn't know he had. And that's actually been like the most read article from our blog. The other thing that we love is having a really amazing data science and engineering team, and now having a pretty good data lake to query. Those guys are applying interesting metrics to Amazon data to help reveal patterns. And so they did some interesting analysis to take an economic principle, the Gini coefficient, which scores generally the distribution of income in a population, and apply it to share of voice on Amazon on Prime Day to look at categories that would have been easier or harder to win on Amazon. So seeing folks on our data science team want to write articles and share with the world is a fun thing to watch too.
Nice. And you mentioned this data science team. You have a CTO, 16 people at the agency. It's a fairly new agency. Not many typical agency teams look like that, have that makeup. If I'm playing the I'm a big basketball guy, the GM of the Momentum Commerce team, and you're picking players to fit what positions. You got your 16-person team. I'd love to know like how that team is structured across business development, client management, data and technology, and how you thought about forming that team when you were starting the agency.
Yeah, we arrived at an organizational design that I like quite a bit, that I think will scale nicely, but we didn't necessarily get there with having that plan in mind. We got there by just it working out, where there happened to be a group of very talented people that all wanted to do this together. So I'm lucky in that we've got a gentleman named David Kennedy who leads our client services practice. So that's mostly like tactical execution on behalf of clients, media services work. David, I've known David for 15 years. He was a client of mine when I was at Google 15 years ago. He was one of the most sophisticated guys buying search ads for big retailers. So he's built up agency services teams at multiple agencies. He built the in-house marketing team at REI. Just an amazing guy, incredibly smart, very data driven, super fun to be around and work with. So he oversees client service delivery. If a brand hires us to run retail media for them, it's his group who's in charge of that day in and day out. And he's always worked at places that understand that technology plus people working together is the key to success. We then have a retail strategy group. It's led by Ryan Walker, who's our VP of strategy. Ryan and I worked together at Criteo and then again at Takeometrics, where he built the service organization. He is just your classic retail analyst nerd, loves getting into strategy. He does a lot of work to do diligence for our private equity partners, assortment planning, channel strategy, consults for brands. One of the things we noticed is that it's not just about media execution. If you don't have the right strategy, the right data together, and how you approach Amazon, if your supply chain screwed up, the media doesn't matter. So that's a retail strategy group that kind of helps solve some of those problems. Then we have Molly Doe, who leads our client development. So that's sales and marketing and ongoing customer satisfaction. She's dynamite. She's worked in e-commerce her whole career and is just a great leader. And then we've got Jay, our CTO, and he's got a whole crew of data scientists and engineers that have worked for him across companies. And so it just happened to be some of my favorite people, all had slightly different skill sets that were really complementary, and just decided to go kind of big and getting a real leadership team together early on. And then we've hired in a ton of just amazing experienced talent there. It's a lot easier to hire great people when you have great leaders in place already. So that was kind of our approach to go to market.
And then, so you have the John Shea dream team. You've assembled the starting five, yourself and these four pillars of Momentum Commerce. How do you get your first client? How do you get your next 10? Like what was that process like in setting up the agency? Huge cost base already. You're investing a significant amount in data and technology, unlike other agencies. So what brought in that initial Rolodex of clients, and how have you found success in client development since then?
Yeah, well, so the first thing is like we decided to make an investment in this business. So we didn't want to just bootstrap something small. We wanted to do this right, and saw a huge opportunity in the market to approach it that way. So we're very comfortable kind of making the heavy approach up front. As far as like meeting clients, one of the advantages of hiring like a senior team, like all of us have been doing this for a long time. We all have relationships and clients that we've worked with that trust us, that know we can do good work. So it's been pretty easy just to talk to good friends who are on the client side that we've worked with before. So it's easy to kind of get in the door with some conversations. And I think what I'm finding is in the retail media space, a lot of brands are frustrated with holding company agencies. They are excited about folks that are super data driven, that are scrappy and hungry, and they want to partner with a firm that's specialized, but also they like the idea of this is a new company that's building tools, building services, and going on a journey together. Those are the right clients for us. In some cases, clients want something more cookie cutter, and then we're not a great fit for them. But we've been able to build just great partnerships. We have awesome clients that believe in us and want to support our growth and have already referred additional clients to us. So we think that's going to work long term, and that's what we've done so far.
Amazing. Once you start to get referrals from your existing customers, you're doing something right, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think that's the best sign of success in business. Yep.
And so then, if we then dive into that subject, for if I'm a large brand working with a large agency that isn't Momentum Commerce, what do you think those agencies are getting wrong, and that you are uniquely getting right, that allows you to differentiate and allows you to get these wins?
I don't want to say anybody's getting anything wrong.
You're too nice of a guy, John.
Things
you're
that
way, you're way too nice of a guy.
Things that we believe in, that things that we believe in that I don't think all other shops out there do, is on the client service side. I think the prevailing model that agencies use generally is you've got an account director who's like your senior person who's been around, who manages the client relationship and the communication with the client. And then you've got your worker bees who might be a little bit more behind the scenes, who are actually in the platforms pulling the levers. And from a cost standpoint, like, it makes sense that you can scale that model and extract more margin that way. We don't think that creates the best result. We believe deeply that the people working on the accounts, who are poring over the data every day, pulling the levers, driving execution for clients, need to also be the person that's talking to the client every day. And that so much gets lost in that translation of the hierarchy there. For the retail media management side of our business, our retail media analysts are the ones who are doing the work all day, accessing the raw data in our databases, making decisions, and also the ones leading the communication. It's hard to hire that profile. You need somebody who's really good at data analysis, really analytical, math driven, but is also great at client communication. And it's hard to find people that have both of those skill sets, but we believe deeply that that approach is better than having the person who's great at client communications be a different person than the one doing the work. So I think that's a big difference. I think another big difference is you got to have your technology to do this at the highest level. For us, that's been an investment in insights to make better decisions. And you need to understand technology. If you use a platform like a Perpetua, you got to know how that platform works, how it makes decisions, so you can overlay good human decision making on top of that. And I think some agencies may not be as accustomed to building and working with technology and machine learning techniques and so forth. And so I think that's an area where we add a decent amount of value for our clients. And then there's different stuff around pricing and incentives and how agencies and clients should come together on that we have strong views on. But we want to earn our keep with clients and be performance oriented in how we work with clients.
And you don't just charge media only, given that you do offer a wide variety of services. Momentum Commerce can offer consulting on a project-based basis, media services. Are there other offerings that Momentum Commerce has and models that you operate with your clients?
Yeah. I mean, so our most common kind of path is we get called in by a senior person on the brand side to do a strategy audit. It's like an operational review of what they're doing in retail media specifically, or maybe in a channel like Amazon specifically. And that's a paid engagement. We do a really robust piece of analysis there. I would say we're better at like hardcore data analysis and insights than we are at strategy recommendations. So we're really good to kind of scorecard out with data how well they're doing and what the size of opportunity is across different levers and drivers in a business. And then generally what we tell customers is like, rebate the cost of that work if you want to hire us on an ongoing basis to go fix some of these things. And that may be media execution, that may be product innovation, consulting, using Amazon data to figure out new products that you want to come to market with. That may be pricing, looking at how you can change your promotional or pricing strategy to extract better margins, services like that.
Very cool. John, you alluded to this space. I think we're wrapping up. Unless, did we not touch on anything that you wanted to talk about?
This is awesome. This is
all right. So we like to end these with a prediction. The space is moving so fast. What's John's prediction for the next year? What will happen in the next year that you believe others should know about?
Ooh, let's just clarify the question, Adam. What's my prediction of something that will happen in the next 365 days in relation to retail media in general?
Yeah, you got it.
I think you're going to see a ridiculous amount of M&A.
If not, we've seen a lot of M&A in the past.
Yeah. Look at who I'm talking to.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of M&A in the past little bit.
Yeah, I think that's going to accelerate. I think you're going to
Who's acquiring who?
I'm friends with all the players here, so I got to be careful on what I say.
Sure. You don't need to name. You don't need to name companies, but what types of companies would acquire what other types of companies?
I think you're going to continue to see this smashing of advertising-oriented companies and insights-oriented companies, right? And so, like the insights layer has got to tie into the activation layer, and so I think you're seeing some of that happening. And there's a lot of software companies that focus on e-commerce insights, and there's a lot of software companies that focus on e-commerce advertising. I think those are natural fits for one another. So I think you'll see more of that activity. You've already seen quite a bit of it. The area that I'm interested to watch the most is we love buying ads for demonstrable lift on Amazon's platform. When you get out of Amazon, these platforms are just so early and they're real clunky, and you can't really use some of the mathematical techniques that we like using to drive return. I want to see more innovation there. I want to see new companies enter that space and help retailers do a better job of building ad technology. There's some cool companies that I think are up and coming in that area. I think we'll see more from them. And then I think you could see consolidation in terms of companies like Criteo's offering, or Microsoft has Promote IQ. Those are very similar companies. Publicis just bought Citrus Ads. Like, I think you'll see more in terms of change on that layer. And then you've got all the mobile apps like Instacart or Uber Eats, or DoorDash, all these guys, GoPuff. They're going to kind of crash into this ecosystem, and you'll see a lot of activity there too. So it's an exciting time to be in this industry.
Yeah, I think the M&A that I'm most looking forward to are who are those now first party retail platforms going to acquire or partner to accelerate their offering. We saw Walmart partner with the Trade Desk for their future programmatic and connected TV offering. What's next for, let's say, if Instacart by way of advertising revenue and GMV is number 3, what's Instacart's play going to be? They've already hired everyone from Amazon.
Yep.
So who's Instacart going to acquire? How are they going to move up the funnel through either acquisition, build, or partner? I think that's something that I'm really interested in, but there'll be a lot will happen in the next little bit.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun ecosystem to be in, and there's just great people working on this industry. So I always love meeting new people, and appreciate the opportunity to do this with you today, Adam.
For sure. Thank you so much, John. This is Growth Sessions. Please make sure to subscribe to listen to more episodes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.